in this questioning, in this line of questioning about, is it factual? Certainly it's not a factual story, but is it true? And what is the difference between true and factual in this case? I'll give you an idea to consider, but I want you to hold on to the question of what's the difference between true and factual. So if you were a person who had never experienced a hug before in your life, never knew a hug, and I described a hug, well, it's when two people come together and they put their arms around each other and they pull each other close and their chests touch and the shoulders are close, and then you pull away and it makes you feel better, and the people say they feel good and they feel loved and they feel happy when they get a hug. That's all information. If you've never experienced a hug, you don't know how it feels. You don't know why people will say they feel better after a hug. So a hug is true, but unless you've experienced it, you don't have that truth in your personhood, in your reference, in your culture, in your library of meaning. In the case of Jumping Mouse, the story is true for those who perpetuated it, as it was handed down from generation to the next generation, as the meanings that are embedded in the words were transmitted to the next generation. It held tremendous truth and value. Not factual truth, but meaningful truth, like a hug. In your generation, you have been oriented to believe that if something isn't provable factually, it might mean it must be necessarily discarded. And I'd like to dispel that kind of thinking in our class. Truth, when it comes to studying these religions, has to be approached from a different vantage point. Truth that is meaningful, has meaning for a people, that is passed down from generation to generation and develops into a culture, is indeed a fact. It is observable and gives rise to the disciplines such as anthropology. I was about to say anthropological studies. Therefore, when we study these religions, we are looking for truth in that direction, not necessarily factual truth. Hence, the sacred texts that we will examine for each of these religions contain truths. If you examine these sacred texts from the lens of an historical filter, expecting the sacred text to hold up to the scientific standard of an historical document, these truths cannot be revealed nor disclosed. And great harm is often done to the sacred texts of these world religions because in modern times they're set to an historical filter. They are not historical documents. They contain bits of history, but again I repeat, as I did in the first class, these sacred texts are not a journalist's record going around with the camera recording events for people to remember exactly what happened. They are written for the edification of the theological beliefs and premise that gave birth to each of these religions.